Welcome back to Health Insurance Doesn't Have to Suck. I'm Brian Calvert. In the last episode, we talked about why premiums keep going up and how it really comes down to the math of the risk pool. What goes in has to come out. When claims go up, premiums follow. It's not random, it's arithmetic. So today we're going to talk about something that might even feel more personal, and that's your deductible. If you've been paying attention over the last 10, 12 years, 15 years, and even if you haven't, you probably noticed that deductibles have gotten bigger, a lot bigger. And if you've ever had a medical bill that landed in your mailbox and thought, well, wait a second, I thought I had health insurance, well, this episode's for you. Let me give you a little context because I think it helps to understand how we got here. There was a time, not that long ago, when $500 deductible was completely normal. You had insurance, you went to the doctor, and after a small amount of cost sharing, the insurance company picked up the rest. And that was the deal. And today, a $1,500 deductible is considered low for an individual. The average deductible for an employer-sponsored coverage has more than doubled over the last 15 years. And for people buying on the individual market, $3,000, $5,000, $7,000, even $9,000 deductibles on the ACA are unfortunately not that unusual. So what happened? Here's the honest answer. The cost of health insurance just kept going up. It's not a surprise. And somebody has to absorb it. It's just the way it works. And for a long time, that somebody was employers. They ate the increase, they kept deductibles low, and they tried to shield employees from the full cost of healthcare inflation. But eventually, and this really accelerated in the late 2000s and into the 2010s, it just became unsustainable. Healthcare costs were rising faster than businesses could absorb them. So the industry shifted. And instead of raising premiums dramatically, which many employees and individuals couldn't afford, the plan designers made a different trade. They kept premiums more manageable, but they transferred more of the financial risk back to you. And that transfer happened through the deductible. So remember what I said in episode 1. Health insurance is fundamentally a risk management decision. I'll say it again. Health insurance is fundamentally a risk management decision. How much of the risk are you going to keep, and how much are you going to transfer? Well, over the last decade and a half, a lot of that risk has been quietly shifted back in your direction. And most people didn't fully realize that it was even happening. So I want to make sure this is completely clear because once you see it, you really can't unsee it. Premium and deductible exist in relationship with each other. They move in opposite directions. So a lower deductible, the insurance company takes on more of the risk. So they charge you more every month, right? A higher premium. A higher deductible, you take on more of the risk, so the insurance company charges you less every month, therefore a lower premium. I think most everyone gets that. But neither is really right or wrong. It's just a trade-off. So the question is always, which side of that trade-off makes sense for your situation? But here's where a lot of people go wrong. They choose a high deductible plan because the premium's lower, which makes sense really on the surface. I get it. But then they haven't thought through what happens if they actually need to use it. So I've sat across from countless people who were shocked by a medical bill because they didn't genuinely understand how much of that bill they were responsible for before their insurance company kicked in. They saw the lower monthly cost and chose the plan. And that's not a bad decision, but it's really an incomplete one. Now, there's a plan type that was specifically built around high deductibles, and when it's used correctly, it's actually a really powerful tool. It's called a high deductible health plan, or HDHP. The IRS sets specific thresholds for what qualifies as an HDHP, and the deductible has to be at or above a certain level. And when you have an HDHP, you're eligible to open a health savings account, or an HSA. And I know I'm hitting you with lots of acronyms, but this is the world we live in. So an HSA lets you set aside pre-tax money to pay for qualified medical expenses. That means you're paying your deductible with dollars that were never taxed, which effectively reduces the real cost of that deductible. We'll do a full episode on HSAs because they really deserve their own conversation, but I want to plant that seed here because when someone says a high deductible plan doesn't work for them, sometimes what they really mean is they didn't have an HSA strategy alongside of it. And that's not always affordable or an option for everyone, but it's definitely there and built for that situation. So what should you do with all this? The next time you're looking at a plan, whether it's on your own, with a broker, or on the marketplace, or at your job, I want you to stop looking at the deductible as just a number and start looking at it as a question. So the question is, if something goes wrong this year, a surgery, a diagnosis, an unexpected ER visit, what would I actually pay before the insurance starts to share the cost? And then ask, am I okay with that number? Do I have the money accessible if needed? Well, that's not always the case for everybody, but if a $5,000 deductible plan otherwise has great coverage, and if you're healthy and you've built up an HSA, maybe the plan is great for you, right? And the real financial problem would be for someone that doesn't have that cushion. So the deductible isn't good or bad. It's a lever that goes back and forth. And now, hopefully, you understand how it works. So let me bring this together, right? Deductibles didn't explode randomly. They grew because healthcare costs grew, and the system needed somewhere to put that pressure. Employers and plan designers shifted more of the risk to the individuals, and now that risk lives in your deductible. The premium deductible trade-off is real and it's intentional, and understanding this puts you in control of the decision instead of just reacting to a number on a page. So in the next episode, we're going to talk about pharmacy benefits and specifically why drug costs have become one of the biggest drivers of health insurance costs overall. It's a piece of this puzzle that most people completely underestimate, and I think it's going to surprise you. If you found this helpful, please follow the show, and if you know someone who's been caught off guard by a deductible, share this episode with them. I also write a short companion newsletter called Clarity Notes that goes deeper on what we talk about and cover each week. I'm Brian Calvert. Thanks for being here, and we'll keep building clarity from here.